but this is a clandestine mission. I think they found out one of, according to them, this is according to Operation Pull-Up, that one of the pastors here is a member of ICE. And so here we go.
And so there we go. There's Don Lemon invading a church yesterday like a jihadi. And he said they don't practice the kind of Christianity that he practices. And I have no doubt that that's true. Because they practice Christianity. And what he practices is something else altogether. The people at NBC Fake News are very upset indeed. On this, the 20th of January, 1 year ago today, President Trump being inaugurated for his second term as President of the United States. And Don Lemon, he's very angry, a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome, of course, among other things, and monkeypox, which is another thing altogether. DOJ, that's the Department of Justice, civil rights chief, blasts Don Lemon for covering anti-ICE protests inside church. That's NBC News. They're pretending that Don Lemon is a journalist and not an activist, and that he was covering it. He doesn't work for any news organization. But when you're a lefty, the NBC has your back. They're not a news organization themselves. And DOJ, civil rights chief, vows charges against protesters. Harmeet Dillon, the wonderful and great Harmeet Dillon, said that nobody should think in the United States that they're going to be able to get away with this after anti-ICE protesters halted Sunday service in a St. Paul church. And, of course, they burst into the place, and people were saying, well, I was having flashbacks to news stories about church shootings and Democrats going into, like, the Catholic school where they went and shot up the children in the church. And, you know, the Democrats they've attacked, I think, close to 500 churches in the United States in the last few years. The Catholic Church keeps track, even if the Democrats don't. So the Justice Department will pursue charges related to a protest. It was something like that in a church in St. Paul, Minnesota. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon said on Monday, specifically calling out ex-CNN journalist, that's ex, former, not a journalist at all now, Don Lemon for his coverage of the event. It really wasn't. It was participation. He was involved in the planning stage that he showed up. He's an agitator, not a journalist. In an interview with the conservative influencer Benny Johnson, Harmeet Dillon, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, said journalism is not a shield from a criminal conspiracy. Don Lemon himself has come out and said he knew exactly what was going to happen inside that facility, Harmeet Dillon said on the Benny Show. He went into the facility and then he began, quote unquote, committing journalism, as if that's some sort of shield from being an embedded part of a criminal conspiracy. It isn't, Harmeet Dillon said. Dillon did not confirm whether the Justice Department would pursue charges against Don Lemon in particular. NBC Fake News has asked the Justice Department and the place of worship, City's Church, for comment. I wouldn't call them back. If NBC calls you and they want to comment, don't respond. Don't respond. But hilariously, Don Lemon, a gay black man, may face charges violating the KKK Act, the Ku Klux Klan Act, a Democrat-created organization, and we've got that. Harmeet Dillon, did not confirm whether the Justice Department would pursue charges against Don Lemon in particular. Isn't that great? Reached for comment to a response to Harmeet Dillon's remarks. Don Lemon said in an email that it's notable that I've never been cast as the face of a protest I was covering as a journalist, especially since I wasn't the only reporter. Well, some of them were not conspirators and planned the event as you did with the rabble, including the bearded guy who was a rabble-rouser in Washington, D.C. at the last riot we had here. Isn't that great? That framing is telling, Don Lemon said, kind of twitching because his underwear were uncomfortable because they're ladies' underwear. What's even more telling is the barrage of violent threats, along with homophobic and racist slurs directed at me online by MAGA supporters. You guys should stop shooting people and attacking places. And amplified by parts of the right-wing press. You should be doing donkey shows in Tijuana. Really, you shouldn't be pretending to be a journalist. Don Lemon said he stood by his reporting. It's not reporting, really, and NBC fake news. They're part of the cancer that is destroying journalism and the truth-seeking in the United States of America. But, the Democrats they're unwell, and they're violent, and they're criminally insane. They're severely mentally ill. The KKK and the KKK Act. NBC News doesn't talk about the KKK Act, and because they don't cover the news, and they don't cover anything because they're not in the news business. They're in the Democrat Party front group business at NBC. Fake news, not on the side of journalism or America. Just appalling. They do eventually, in paragraph number 30 or something, say, Harmeet Dillon said Sunday afternoon on X that the Justice Department was investigating the potential violations of the Federal FACE Act. Sure, by these people desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers, referring to the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. The law, enacted in 1994, prohibits interfering with or obstructing people from seeking reproductive health services, that's an abortion, or exercising religious freedom at places of worship. The Democrats' abortion is a religious practice, but you know how they are. All right, now let's go to this lunatic leftist in Minnesota. He's their chief law enforcement officer, the attorney general of the state, a former member of the House of Representatives, Keith Ellison. He's a radical leftist and extremist and anti-Semite and Islamist, and not on the side of America or Western civilization. Keith Ellison is not one of the good guys. He's a radical lefty. He went on with a fluffer at CNN who goes by the name Aaron Burnett. Aaron Burnett. I think that might be the street she grew up on in the name of her first pet, but I'm not sure. On CNN, Aaron Burnett and the Minnesota left-wing radical Attorney General Keith Ellison on the Department of Justice.
Attorney General, I just want to start with that protest at the church in St. Paul, which is now getting so much coverage. Do you think the DOJ has any case against any of the protesters there?
Nah.
In a normal time, I would say no. I'd say this is First Amendment activity. In time like this, it's just really difficult to say. Because the only one thing is clear. If Trump likes you, you can do no wrong. If he doesn't, he's going to use every weapon he can against you, including our criminal justice system.
Now, this coming from the people that use the IRS against Tea Party groups and patriot groups, and they still complain that Richard Nixon once talked about using the IRS against Democrats in the 1960s, and his IRS chief said, I don't think we should do that. And Richard Nixon said, okay. And they didn't use the IRS against the political enemies. But the Obama administration did. Now, the First Amendment, of course, reads thusly, the first in our Bill of Rights, one of the greatest documents in human history. The Democrats burn it and use it as toilet paper. But Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free practice, the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Press comes in number 3. Religion is number 1. Freedom of speech for us is the 5 elements of the First Amendment. But first is establish no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, and they go out to interfere with the free exercise thereof. Did you see the young girls in the church that were terrified off on the side of the chapel, of the nave, and just amazing. And or the free press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble. That always reminds me of Fredo Cuomo when is it? Hey, where does it say that protest has to be peaceful? It says it in the First Amendment, the right of the people to peaceably, to people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
Please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Well, in the First Amendment is where you'll find that. Is he a lawyer? They're all lawyers, aren't they? That his dad gave him a law degree or something like that. But there it is. The Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And it wasn't the state. It was a mob of violent lunatics, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, all right? And or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble. And there is Fredo Cuomo. He's a lawyer, and he doesn't know what the First Amendment, and he's a journalist, and he doesn't know what the First Amendment is because he's a maroon. He's the Fredo of the Cuomo family. Aren't they amazing? Yes, they are just extraordinary. So there is Keith Ellison, the chief law enforcement officer of the state of Minnesota. Well, normally I'd say, but this is Trump. It's Trump derangement syndrome from him. And his fluffer, Aaron Burnett, continued with Keith Ellison.
I'm wondering if you have any frustration that this happened in a church. And look, I know the protesters say that one of the pastors was an ICE official, and DHS has not confirmed or denied that, right? So you would think if it weren't true, they would have denied it. But, you know, we don't know. They haven't said. But obviously the optics of going into a place of worship are not necessarily great. Does it frustrate you that it happened this way?
Look, here's what frustrates me. Over 3,000 ICE agents escalating into our state. 1,500 active duty military soldiers. That's what frustrates me.
What is it? That arresting illegal alien child rapists and people convicted of murder, that's what frustrates you as the chief law enforcement officer of one of our 50 states? That's what it frustrates you? I think it might be sexual frustration more than anything. Maybe he should travel with the governor of California because they've got some plans, don't they? Man, oh man, just amazing. Your Democrat Party, they are really something. And Keith Ellison was asked because Don Lemon is the new cause celeb and the people invading the church because they're like jihadis. They think the First Amendment is supposed to protect the jihad and ISIS and Al-Qaeda, but not normal people practicing their Christian faith because the left, you know, they're the organ harvesters and they're not on the side of civilization. Keith Ellison, he actually went on the Don Lemon podcast. He's got some kind of a podcast. My great-grandmother has a podcast, and she died in 1967. Isn't that amazing? Keith Ellison on with Don Lemon on his podcast. Hey, wait a minute. We love abortion. I can't be charged with anything.
And the FACE Act, by the way, is designed to protect the rights of people seeking their reproductive rights.
Abortion.
To be protected. And so that people, for a religious reason, cannot just use religion to break into women's reproductive health centers, right? So how they are stretching either of these laws to apply to people who protested in a church over the behavior or the perceived behavior of a religious leader is beyond me.
Over the behavior or the perceived behavior of a religious leader is beyond him. Now, is the pastor an ICE agent? Because that'd be kind of weird. He's double dipping. He's the pastor at the city church, and he's an ICE official. Is that what you guys are claiming? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The CNN people, like this fluffer here. Trump officials investigate protesters who interrupted Minnesota church service targeting ICE official. That's the headline. Targeting ICE official. Now, but they don't know. They think that maybe the ICE, that they're doxing ICE officials, and they might have found an ICE official that has the same name or the same last name as the pastor at the church. But how could the pastor at the church also be an ICE official? Doesn't make any sense. And here we are the next day, and they still can't say, oh, yeah, that's true. and the entirety of the news media is doing everything they can to give Don Lemon a tongue bath because of their mental illness. Yeah, and is he like, I don't know, might be, could be, can't rule it out. We'll go invade the next church and see what happens then and terrorize people because a lot of lefties been shooting up churches and vandalizing churches and looting, a lot of looting, the Democrat Party. And Don Lemon, and there he is with the Attorney General, the Democrat radical left-wing Keith Ellison. Oh, yeah, I don't understand how the law works at all. I'm just the chief law enforcement officer of one of our 50 states.
I know the protesters say that one of the pastors was an ICE official, and DHS has not confirmed or denied that, right? So you would think if it weren't true, they would have denied it.
Now, the Democrats are trying to dox every agent they can to threaten them and their families because they're violent and vile and terroristic. And Newsweek magazine has a story today. The headline is, Who is David Easterwood? Protesters say pastor is ICE official. He's an ICE official and a pastor. They say, David Easterwood, who leads the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Field Office in St. Paul, also apparently being a key word there, serves as a pastor at a church that was disrupted by protesters on Sunday. Dozens of protesters entered the city's church in St. Paul during a service, with some chanting ICE out and justice for Renee Good. They believe in justice for nobody. The woman, an ICE agent, fatally shot in Minneapolis on January 7th when she crashed her car into him. Here's the videotape. Here's the audio. Here is his internal bleeding medical report from the hospital. The protesters allege that Easterwood, one of the church's 8 pastors, so they think, also led the local ICE office, the field office overseeing operations in Minnesota. Easterwood did not lead the part of the service that was live streamed by protest organizers, and it was unclear whether he was present at the church on Sunday. It's unclear whether he's actually the same guy. Also, Tricia McLaughlin, wonderful spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, said, well, we're not going to confirm or deny because we're not going to help you dox people so you can torture their families and threaten lives. Now, as you know, membership of the Democrat Party is likely a mental illness and should be viewed by mental health professionals as such. Another blonde-haired white woman posted another video of herself on Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him, and listen to the mental Democrat woman. I guess she claims she's in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and she's terrified to go out because she might be killed by a sniper like Charlie Kirk, or shot by a sniper like Donald Trump, or shot by a sniper like Republican Congressman Steve Scalise, or shot by murderers like a couple of Israeli embassy employees at a Jewish museum in Washington, or the list goes on and on of Democrats perpetrating political murders and assassinations, maybe gunned down in a street in Manhattan like a health insurance company CEO. The Democrats gunning down people all over the place. And Luigi Mangione, who's a hero of the Democrat Party for gunning down, murdering a CEO, a husband and a father of 2. And the Democrats celebrate him because they're not liberals, they're the left. Isn't that amazing? But here's another blonde hair. I think it doesn't look entirely natural, the hair color, but a woman, I'd say in her 40s, who posted a video of herself. And this is a video that she says she's posting for her mother in case she is gunned down by police in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
This is a message from my mom.
Hi, Mom.
If I am executed by ICE officers today,
it
will not be because of anything that I did.
Sure.
I want you to know a couple things.
First, you're mental.
I don't carry weapons on me.
Mm-hmm. Except
Second,
your brain.
I won't be holding any signs.
No signs.
There will be no indication from me that I'm a violent person or a threat to anyone.
Then why would they execute you?
I do not plan on following anyone. I do not plan on screaming or shouting or even speaking to anyone. I am there to observe and document.
She's there to document.
This is a historical moment for me
in
my lifetime,
for
the state of Minnesota. And no matter what the outcome is, I believe it deserves to be documented.
Yeah, she might be executed by...
I believe it is my responsibility and my right to document it.
It is.
Firsthand, as an observer, show what is happening in my city.
That's right.
I believe in the freedom and the foundations of America and the United States Constitution. I also believe in change and progress. If I am executed today by ICE officers, it will not be because of anything that I did.
Then we'll learn her name.
I'm saying this because I need you to understand,
Mom,
what you're supporting.
She's not.
And what you're fighting against.
She's not supporting it.
And possibly reconsider
having children. But it's too late for that. She might be executed by ICE today. She won't be carrying weapons. She won't have a sign. Because you might, sign everywhere. You might be gunned down on the streets of Minneapolis because you have a sign, because that's what's happening, because ICE, because the mental illness that is membership in the Democrat Party. That is a typical run-of-the-mill Democrat. Isn't that amazing? Yes, indeed. All right, and then we... let's go to fried zucchini, because fried zucchini... I've always admired fried zucchini. He's got one of my favorite lines of all time when he explained that when radical Islamic jihadi terrorists murder people and blow themselves up, they don't get 72 virgins. Remember this one? This is one of my favorite soundbites. They don't get 72. Do you have it right there? You don't get, this is fried zucchini. This is what put him in good with me.
The Arabic word for virgin has been mistranslated. The original word that was used in the Quran was the word for raisin.
72 raisins.
72 raisins.
Imagine the surprise of the terrorist who expected something completely different.
Imagine the surprise of the terrorist who expected something completely, and now for something completely different. Isn't that amazing? So here's fried zucchini, and where'd fried zucchini go on the television? He was on the television. Fried zucchini is out there, and he's talking about. And it was kind of ironic. It made us chuckle a little bit because, you think? And he's talking about how, what is it, affordability, and the Democrats pretending they're going to make everything more affordable. Then they raise your taxes, and they raise taxes on everything, and they make everything more expensive. Well, they smile at you and tell you that they're making everything less expensive and more affordable because they lie all the time, and they're mental. They're very severely mental. But here is fried zucchini. Explaining that, gosh, it sure looks like Democrat states are wackier than non-Democrat, conservative states.
If America has an affordability crisis, it tends to be in places Democrats govern, like New York, Illinois, and California, which all feature high taxes, soaring housing costs, and stagnant outcomes in basic areas like education and infrastructure.
Sure. Yeah, that's a bit, and people graduate from high school not being able to write their names or read the Bazooka Joe comic book or comic strip. Isn't that amazing? So that's the old fried zucchini, and it tends to be in Democrat-run states like Illinois and California and New York. And fried zucchini, he's not done yet. Fareed Zakaria, who knows that when radical Islamic terrorists blow people up and blow themselves up, they get 72 raisins, which is, are they sun-kissed raisins? They come in those little red boxes with the thing, fried zucchini.
The mayor wants to spend more money on shiny new programs, but surely it would be worth first asking, What happened to the money already raised?
Yeah.
Spending has soared while the subway deteriorates, housing costs rise, and public schools remain mediocre, despite spending more than $36,000 per pupil last year, the highest in the nation among major school districts. The result is a paradox that defines much of blue state America. Government that promises more, costs more, but delivers less.
Hey, he noticed something. He's probably going to be fired for that. And speaking of Zohran Mamdani in New York, a few months ago, he said he's going to need $10 billion taxpayer dollars to Trump-proof New York. And we should move them all to Fort Sumter. This is honestly, their capital should be in Richmond, Virginia, like it was with the Democrats in the old days, from 1861 to 1865. And then amazing. And there's fried zucchini. You look at the affordability crisis, look no further than Democrat Party leadership in New York and Illinois and California and Washington, D.C., for that matter, so many other places, and 72 raisins. We should sell packets of raisins with just 72 raisins in them, and you don't have to die. You just, here, have 72 raisins. That's good. Now, the left-wingers at Mediaite, Gavin Newsom, he's in Davos. President Trump is headed to Davos today, and he'll be speaking in Davos tomorrow. The security is going to be nightmarish there because the lunatics, the left, President Trump is in grave danger being in a room with Gavin Newsom and so on. But Gavin Newsom, he's over there. He's looking for chicks, other people's wives, and he's planning on bagging a few while he's there. But here's the headline from the radical left-wingers at Mediaite. Gavin Newsom slides up to front row of Trump's Treasury Secretary and his Davos talk and trolls him throughout. Now, this is what he's the Democrat governor of California, of our most populous state in our union. California Governor Gavin Newsom was spotted sliding up to the front row at Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's Davos talk on Tuesday, that's today, taking notes and trolling him throughout as he sat flanked by the cabinet members' staffers. They should have punched him out. The Democrat governor was in attendance for the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, where he had earlier warned Europeans to stand tall, stand firm, and united against President Donald Trump's push to acquire control of Greenland. We've got Democrat governors going overseas to wage war against the President of the United States because he's a cross-dressing fascist. But, he's Gavin Newsom. And who was he? He's his campaign manager's wife. That's who he was, just one in a list of people. He's not one of the good guys. Urging European leaders to fight against President Trump and his conversation on Greenland, which will end up making sense in 5 different ways, I have no doubt, which strained relations with allies there. And here comes the governor of California. CBS News senior White House reporters Jennifer Jacobs and Ed O'Keefe, however, found themselves sitting directly behind Newsom as he joined the audience attending Bessett's Q&A, hosted by Fox Business anchor Maria Bartiromo in Davos, and broadcast live on the network on Fox Business or on the Fox News Channel. In their corroborating accounts, the governor, Democrat favorite for 2028 presidential run, he took notes and silently scoffed at some of Bessent's comments, making his mockery clearly visible from the stage. Newsom shook his head in disagreement, rolled his eyes, O'Keefe tweeted, even throwing his head back at one point. And there he is. He's heckling the Treasury. He's the governor of California, and he's heckling the Secretary of the Treasury because Democrats, I think, want civil war in the United States of America. Isn't that appalling? The Democrat Party, they gave us their first civil war because states' rights, the states' rights to keep their slavery. And according to Jacobs, one of the CBS reporters, 2 remarks that particularly got Newsom shaking his head and laughing, where Bessent claimed that drill baby drill had gotten gasoline prices downward below $2. And in some places, they actually have gone below $2. But all over the country, they're in the $2 to $3 range and just barely above $3. And Joe Biden had them at $5.50. And in California, where he's the governor, there's $6 a gallon, especially if you want premium. I need premium for my high-performance car. But isn't that amazing? And likely presidential candidate Gavin Newsom slid in there. Jennifer Jacobs tweeting out, and he's hassling and disrupting the Treasury Secretary. He's the governor of California. He's not some pink hat wearing, code pink radical Democrat, although he might be a cross-dresser. But isn't that amazing? And Ed O'Keefe caught Gavin Newsom after the talk had ended, where the governor repeated his calls for Europe to develop a backbone and drop the niceties. And he brought knee pads in for the European leaders because he's hoping for a little something for the effort. And I'll guarantee you that Gavin Newsom flew on a private jet to Davos, Switzerland from California. And normally for years they've gone to Davos to talk about the weather and global warming and climate change. Oh, speaking of global warming, by the way, here in Washington, D.C., we just got word this morning at least, and what is it, Apple weather and all of that stuff, that we're looking at not only the Arctic, the damn Canadians sending their cold weather at us again, and you know how they are, but we're looking at this weekend in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital. They say Sunday we're going to have this Canadian weather, and Sunday's low will be 13 degrees in Washington, D.C. That's without the wind chill. And then the high will be 22 degrees between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. And they said it's going to feel like 9 degrees to 16 degrees. Wind is going to make a big difference. And then they say that we're going to have snow. And when I say snow, and it doesn't say it on this thing here, but we're talking about in Washington, D.C., oh, there it is. They're saying we're going to get this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, between 17 inches of snow on the low end and 21 inches of snow. This is what the Apple weather people are saying. It's the Apple weather people. Up to 21 inches of snow this weekend, and it's going to feel like 9 degrees. This is what they're saying at the Apple and they know everything. They're Apple, and their weather projections for this weekend. Today is Tuesday, and they're not very good at predicting things. And the local weather people, they're starting to inch toward this. We're looking at cold weather and snow this weekend, but what are we going to do? What are we going to do? 17 to 21 inches of snow. This is not Minnesota. This should all be in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Yeah, man. I am telling you. And this is fun. A new poll out. Because, you know how we love polls. Interactive polls, 49%, nearly half of younger Trump voters say that America needs more masculinity. The Democrats want death camps for normal men. They want cross-dressers to be in charge of everything. Yes, sir. 48% say that Trump needs to act urgently to fix America, even if it means ignoring Supreme Court decisions. By the way, we are standing by for Supreme Court decisions today out of the United States Supreme Court. You know, they had to put a fence around the front of the Supreme Court because of violent mobs of Democrats.
I can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders.
CNN is an embarrassment to journalism and to cable television and to America and Western civilization, English-speaking nations everywhere. Here's the radical left-wingers headline. CNN guest accuses Scott Jennings, the only sane person on CNN, of getting increasingly demented every single week. And they got this guy who's like in his 20s named Cameron Kasky, who's a gun control activist who is on with a sane adult person and Scott Jennings. And here's the little fascist is telling Scott Jennings, you can't use the words illegal alien. Listen to this.
You don't get to say the word illegals anymore.
But you have.
I don't. The percentage.
Who are you to tell me what I can and can't? I've never met you, brother. Listen, I can say whatever I want. They're illegal aliens, and that's what the law calls them, illegal aliens. That's what I'm going to call them.
Right. Listen, you can't say illegals anymore because ICE is directly targeting legal citizens of this country. And how
are you going to enforce your edict on me, just out of curiosity?
Listen, I understand.
But just listen to his point about illegal.
No, I want to know why he gets to instruct
You're
my
changing the topic.
He's honestly, Scott Jennings, the only intelligent person there, and they got this call him a punk. He claims to have been somewhere near the Parkland school shooting, Cameron Kasky. Now he's a gun control activist, so he's on CNN, and they get him limousines and hotel rooms and plane tickets so he can say, you can't say illegal aliens anymore.
I understand that your job is predicated on just getting increasingly more demented every single week and that the audience comes back to see if perhaps
Make your point.
My point is that you're saying the word illegals.
John Berman.
But you don't even really know what's happening. Or actually, I think you do, and
you're
doing this on purpose. But
yes,
the truth
because
is,
I want the law enforced.
They are not just targeting illegal immigrants. They are targeting natural-born U.S. citizens.
They are not.
That is a fact. You cannot deny that. I mean, you can on national television.
They are
deny
not.
Facts all the time.
They
You've
are
done it a
not.
couple times in this very episode.
I still want to know how you're going to enforce your language edicts on me.
We'll take that up.
How are we going to enforce it?
We're going to take that up in the break.
I still want to know how you're going to enforce your edicts on me, that what words I can use and what words I can't use. And then he demands, you can't say they're arresting illegal aliens in it because they're arresting American citizens. No, this is it. What happens is left-wing radicals come out in the street, assault the police. They're arrested for assaulting the police. And then they say, well, they're performing their duties. And then they say, you're arresting American citizens.